Coming to you live from behind a wall of Christmas wrapping paper. It's time for Live from the Super Fortress Hardcore Genki!
Hello! Well done, Andy. Very good, very good. I haven't wrapped any presents yet. That's all a lie.
But we have got a wall of wrapping paper to defend ourselves with.
We've got Christmas paper and stuff.
We've
ready
got
to
plenty of wrapping
with,
paper.
Stuff like that.
There are Christmas lights festooned around all sections of the Super Fortress, including the anti-Christmas defense batteries.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. If you are out there, say hi.
Yep. So I thought I'd dust off my Twitch account and just make some use of it. No drawing today, but we're just going to talk about nerdy stuff, and that's my life. It's always been my life, So yeah. So basically, hello. I am PinkApplJam,
and I am Raggedyman.
We are coming to you live from the Super Fortress Hardcore Genki, which is basically where we live. It's our very own haven from the outside hustle and bustle of a world that's gone rather cold recently.
And
We've
blustery.
turned the radiator up. And blustery, yeah.
So lots, and it's gone very dark, which is lots of excuse to cluster around the TV and watch things, and not just soak up that radiation for nice warmth. It is.
I think so. But firstly, yeah, it's an update on some media that's caught our eye.
Yes.
So firstly, some news.
Yes. So this happened a while ago. You may or may not know this. I don't know how many fans and followers we've got, but we thought we'd say here so people know. Bunkerzilla and Super Fortress have kind of parted ways. I
think we're just doing our own thing now.
Bunkerzilla's changing tack and changing direction. So they're focusing on other stuff. They were hosting us for a while. They were hosting stuff I was doing for a while. And we're going to carry on doing our thing. We're still chums, buddies.
Yeah. Buddies, pals.
Battlers in the ongoing war for attention. So that's still cool. But as you can see, we're no longer on Bunkerzilla. We're here.
Cribbing off my old Twitch account, which I'm fine with.
Yes, which is absolutely fine. So I'm nicking all your potential viewers, which is cool. Yeah, and we're going to be sharing listeners. So, we're basically building up our own media empire. Because what have we got? So things that happened since we were last here. So we've now got the Super Fortress Hardcore Genki Hall of Awesome, which you can find at facebook.com/group/hardcore Genki. That's where we're putting all our stuff, doing all our news. We inherited a Discord server, which was pretty nice.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of fun with that. That's for sure.
The easiest way to find it, bit.ly/Super Fortress Discord. That's all camel-backed. So that's pretty cool. We're also back on the podcasting, by which I mean I'm going to edit this into a podcast and upload it on the podcasting. So raggedyman.net/The Raggedyjam podcast. Anyone who's still got that on their podcatcher will just hear this and go, "Oh, they're back in town," so they'll know all that, and they'll know where else to get us in formats other than just seeing us. And obviously, Trash or Treasure has moved. It's no longer on Bunkerzilla. It's now at trashortreasure.blog. Because I went and got me a new URL to go with all the other URLs I underuse.
Which is basically Andy's write-up of some of the films that we watch on the Thursday. Are they trash?
Yes.
Are they treasure? Sometimes both, but you have to pick one.
That's my reviews of movies that I've found and watched. And currently I'm going through the Howling series, which is it's a thing. I've got one more movie left.
They are films.
Nice to have it over and done with.
Yeah.
So, really...
Nearly. But haven't you got loads of spin-offs to go through as well?
No. I found a special movie that will be going on at the end, if I've still got the will to live after the 2Ks one. Yeah, there was the recent one I reviewed, New Moon Rising, was awful. to the point where I'm actually putting off watching the next one until I've recouped some of my sense. Anyway,
gotta build yourself up for that.
So that's where we are.
So following several months of stuff that's happening outdoors, you've seen how things have been going on as a whole. Not even going to mention today's news with a new variant. Let's move on. We're back. We are back in some form or another. We will hopefully be monthly, like energy levels, life, everything being well, at least every other month. Life allowing. As of next year, January 2022. So happy early new year gift to you.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be monthly. Maybe it'll be every around a month. But
we've just got to see how we get on, with everything that life's been throwing at us. I shared a cartoon earlier this week to my pals on Facebook, and it was just this poor chap trying to make lemonade from all the lemons that he'd been given, but the lemonades were they just kept coming, and he had he was basically put his forehead on the table, and he just couldn't deal with it anymore. And it's the
lemonade keeps coming, and it just keeps coming. That lesser known All Stars song.
Yep. But it does mean that we've watched a lot of television on the Discord as well, which was great. So shall we start?
Meanwhile, on TV.
Yes,
let's start. Let's start with something that just didn't want to stop.
No. So, I don't know. It stopped quicker than the last American season. So we've been watching RuPaul's Drag Race UK season 3. It's been 10 weeks since you looked at me. After 10 weeks of dance-offs, eliminations, bitchy comments, and around 200 different looks. This third season of RuPaul's Drag Race from the UK, it's finally over. Ru took the bold decision to crown. No, I'm not going to read this one out. Actually, I'm going to try and avoid.
You never read the script. I write these things several days beforehand.
Well, I'm not going to spoil who won because it only aired on Thursday. That was only
a bold and challenging decision.
That was only 2 sleeps ago, so I'm not going to spoil it just yet.
Fine.
So yes, top 3 queens. The person who was crowned. It's booked in already for a 4th season. There was a little advert at the end of one of the previous episodes. Did this one season show the charm, uniqueness, nerve and talent? We're the nerds. Nerve and talent needed. So my response to that is no, listener, viewer, it did not. If it wasn't for this Discord chat, I probably would have given up on this one. But I just felt that the queens didn't gel. There was very little banter. There was no catchphrases. There was no memes. There was no much better or anything like that. There was just nothing memorable. They were so young and talented, but because of that, the youth. I don't know. It just felt like, I don't want to sound ageist, but it was just bitching and shouting and ego, and it brought very little to the workroom table, other than a few screeching noises. I think
the youth. I'm not gonna be angry at them because they're young, because everyone's young once, and young people are awesome.
Of course, they can't help it.
I think the youthfulness showed, because we've got a very established drag scene and a very established drag tradition in the UK. I think the youthfulness showed the reluctance of a lot of the established drag scene to take part in this, for reasons I do not wish to wildly speculate on, but it doesn't seem to be connecting, and that's why we got a lot of young people, because they grew up with RuPaul Drag Race. I mean, one of the guys in it was 7 at the time that RuPaul Drag Race started screening in the UK. Mm-hmm. So these are people who a lot of their drag consumption has been the RuPaul thing. So that's a very different tradition to the UK tradition. But yeah, I think it also kind of, they weren't bringing something, because I think they were a little too in awe of being on RuPaul Drag Race, rather than getting on with anything.
Yeah. So it took a while. It did tend to grow on me. It did. I have my favorite queen out of the top 3. That was Ella Day. I felt that Ella, she was elder. She was out of the other two, calm. She was collected. She just enjoyed being Ella, doing comedy as well. And instead of just kind of freaking out about things, just kind of got on with it and went, oh, I think I did all right at that. You know, it was calm, and it was just being comfortable and happy.
It wasn't energy, like a big,
oh my God, moment, right?
They had energy, but it wasn't a nervous energy as such. I mean, they probably had nerves. They obviously had nerves, but they seemed a lot more composed. They were pretty cool.
Yeah. So, Andy, you mentioned it seemed to have lost faith in its own format.
My big take from this season is that they kept on mucking around. Like they had what now seems to be the traditional RuPaul bollocking of the cast. And there's no winners this week.
Well, there was no swearing. No effing H&M version of like a catchphrase, for example. Like that's my point. There was no massive kind of memorable phrases.
They just seemed to be. It was like they had no elimination, then they had double elimination, then they had the false semi-final, and they just didn't seem something dramatic seemed to be missing. They didn't have enough faith in the show itself, so they were having to piss around with the setup and the way they were approaching that. I do wonder how much of that is to do with the prizes being relatively low key on the UK one. I mean, you get 10 grand a win in the US one. Plus a whole bunch of other prizes. In the UK, there's a single prize for the winner, which is cool, and obviously there is exposure on that, but there's no imminent thing to get people really exciting. They can't constantly turn around and go, the winner of this will receive a lifetime of sequins or anything like that. So that kind of just nerfs it a little bit, mutes it a little bit.
Yeah.
I just think it's the fact that, I mean, like we had Joe Black in season 2. You know, we had proper long-term established queens from the old school. They aren't turning up at the moment in this season, and I'm just like,
I mean, I know COVID has thrown a spanner in the works. That's
absolutely.
For sure. I genuinely felt that this season was very rushed, and there have been some reports of like, usually one episode is filmed over 2 days, whereas some people have responded that sometimes one episode was filmed in 1 day.
There was a rumor that the whole thing was done in 10 days, which is going to be nonsense.
Yeah,
there's no way you could do that.
No,
in 10
at
days.
Least within a month. But even if that was doubled at 20 days, like that's a lot. That is a lot.
It definitely it didn't spark. I mean, I know I normally don't get engaged until about episode 7 because unless it's a new country and I'm going, ooh, new country, who this, and getting the vibe for the style in that. Unless it's got that, I tend to be less interested until episode 3 because then you got less people and people can shine through. It's a lot less soundbitey. In this one, I didn't really get any.
No, it just kind of went meh. Meh. You just deflated, right? Just a bit meh.
Yeah.
So yeah, another thing that I liked. Good things, bad things, and another good thing that I liked about Ella the Day is that at the last episode, there's always that interview, isn't there, with the top 3 queens. But with Ella, it was nice to see someone of confidence and happy that they weren't, quote, doing drag as a last resort after doing stage work. Like they viewed their time doing drag as like a following chapter or even a new book. Like it wasn't a sidestep or a down step or anything, step down or anything like that. And I was like, yeah, because people do have this thing like, oh, you're only on television, you're not doing film. There's that kind of weird media snobbery, and I think that was really important.
Whatever you're doing isn't enough.
Of course, and that really needs decimating because things aren't like how they were in the 1950s and 60s, where I think many people probably heard of that sort of thing. It's impossible to do just one thing in the 21st century, and you have to try a lot of things, and you've got to do what you enjoy. And I'm so glad that she did enjoy it.
Any other queens that caught your eye?
So, well, I'm talking about the top 3. I mean, they were all charming in their own ways. They're all irritating in their own ways as well. But Crystal Versace, who is like 3 months old, she grew on me actually towards the end. I mean, even though it was a bit repetitive with the age jokes, essentially that's probably all that she had. I don't know. But she grew on me because personally, I really relate to like trying to learn a script and the lines not sticking. Trying to learn a dance at school and the moves just not sticking. Like she said that she had dyslexia, so it will affect that neurodiversity thing. So it was very clear that she had to work twice as hard. And even though she did lack experience, because she worked hard on her looks and everything that she learned on the show, I thought, wow, well, respect. And another thing that I did respect was, even though I didn't like her fat phobic comments really early on with Veronica Scone, as I think everybody was like, oh, a bit taken aback by that. But then she apologized immediately and she didn't backtrack. She did not backtrack. So I thought that was very, very good of her to say, you know what, that came out of my mouth. What was I thinking? I'm so sorry. And that was that. And I'm like, great, fine.
That's a 19-year-old making a mistake because they're 19.
Exactly.
I'm not a huge fan of Crystal Versace, but one thing I will absolutely give them props for was they admitted that they were a virgin at 19. And that's
said it on
cool.
national television.
And that's really intimidating, especially when my understanding of the gay scene is very, sex orientated, especially the specific gay scene
stereotype,
they're in.
It? So
it is a stereotype very prevalent within that.
So many pressures anyway, regardless of scene or age or
regardless
whatever.
of scene or age or whatever. But coming out and because 19, whatever, that's nothing. You haven't met anyone. You've only just finished doing your A-levels. You probably haven't had time. You've got no clue what you're doing. Having them come out and say that and help normalize it. I'm not saying it's good that they're a virgin. I'm not saying it's bad that they're a virgin. I'm saying that them coming out and going, yeah, I'm a virgin, and the general response being, well, that's a thing. That very positive.
Super important.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course, a charity case talking about AIDS, living with AIDS, and all the other vulnerabilities as well. I will say that there was a lot of new discussion in the workroom that I hadn't heard of on any shows. So that, that's another plus,
I can't remember the name of the lady. Literally one of the queens is a cis woman queen.
Oh, Veronica Scone?
Veronica Scone, cis woman queen, first one represented. Cool. I didn't know it was a thing. It's now a thing. Yeah. They seem to be doing some firsts, which is nice.
Yeah. I mean, these are the positives of essentially a show that didn't quite gel. The other top 3 queen was Kitty Scott-Claus. So one thing that I wrote in my show notes was that none of the queens in season 3 I felt seemed to lean into their regions at all, because I find that really odd. Because whenever BBC advertise who's your winner, is it your Birmingham queen, is it your Yorkshire queen, is it this, that, the other, London queen or whatever, like, especially when you've had a top 3 queen that's as clearly, as overtly West Midlands as Bag of Chips was. Like, I mean, I clearly have a bag of chips on my shoulder.
Lawrence Chaney's whole thing was being Scottish.
Exactly, right.
And also being awesome.
Yes. So I just found it odd that nobody really lent into where they were from this season.
They didn't.
Maybe River Medway did with her very funny first time round, maybe not second, third, fourth time round of pretending to be the statue.
Charitza May and Charitza May definitely did.
Yeah, Charitza. Yeah, she was sweet.
Spanish.
With very overtly. Actually, Charitza, her jokes, her comedy, considering English wasn't her first language at all, stunningly funny. She was, I think, my favorite queen overall because she was very charming.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Let us know if you we apparently got some viewers, so let us know what you think. Please,
sure, drop your comments in the chat. I can't see them, so Andy will have to read them out.
As soon as they come, I will throw them up.
That's fine.
Trust me. If all else fails, this will make great radio.
But you didn't really sit on the sofa this time round this season.
No, I didn't. No. The biggest problem I had was I really failed to care about any of the queens.
It did have to work really hard.
And this is none of them. None of them were unpleasant. None of them annoyed or angered me or anything. They were all perfectly entertaining, but they were all just there. I mean, the only person that wasn't the case that wasn't the situation for was Charity. It was Charity Case, but that was because they seemed to be on the wrong show. I mean,
they should have been on Dragula.
They should have been on Dragula, and that is not me being dismissive of their drag. It's completely valid drag, and some of it was absolutely amazing. But I was just watching it, going, "What is this?"
She made me laugh the most though, because all the queens were doing their things, and then the camera just panned to Charity Case just being this weird gremlin in the background, being really creepy, and it was the funniest thing, because Charity Case wasn't creepy, like shrieky. Sorry, she was just quietly creepy, doing these gigantic movements in the corner, and I found that very charming.
Lurking. Just quietly lurking.
The fairy godmother from hell she made me laugh a lot.
It was cool.
She was great. Yeah.
Maybe it's just the editing style.
Because
you've also got to remember, so much of the tension, so much of the drama is in the edit, and this was something I was definitely spotting in the last episode. Was the editing style they'd gone to was almost deflated. There were a lot of what I'd refer to as beats missing, where the show just wasn't quite hitting the comedic tempo or the exciting tempo. So I think maybe a lot of this has come down to the edit, which shows the power of editing in these things, because we are obviously watching a very false reality.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was where we were with that.
It was. But moving on, our other obsession,
Doom Patrol. Oh yes,
Doom Patrol, an obsession in this fortress.
Oh God, yes.
It's more obvious than you think.
So this picked up where the previous season was forced to stop due to COVID lockdown. It's been another 10 episodes of the original Hard Luck, not superheroes, definitely not superheroes, getting shat on by life, misfortune, and Niall Chandler being an absolute dick. They started the season by beating an imaginary friend that was going to destroy the world. Then they died. Then they came back as zombies, and then they fought a bunch of dadists out to shatter everyone's mind with interpretive dance. That's as good a précis as you're ever going to get of a season of Doom Patrol. I enjoyed it, but then that's like shooting fish in a barrel, if we're going to be honest. I'd enjoy Doom Patrol, the deodorant, if they released the merchandise. If DC released the merchandise or the comic.
If DC released any merchandise comics of Doom Patrol, that would be great.
I enjoyed it, especially as it gave a lot of focus on the development of Rita Farr. Rita Farr, I've been a huge fan of the character in the books. Not necessarily the most developed. Pardon me. Not necessarily the most developed character, has been missing a number of times.
Poor Andy. So Rita Farr is a 1950s character. The actress's head is in the cage in this image. Andy, for people who aren't familiar with Doom Patrol, do you want to just give a very, very, very quick summary of the characters in this?
Okay, you've got, starting from the left going to the right, you've got Cliff Steele, who was an 80s NASCAR racer. He almost died in a car accident. He's now a brain in a jar thanks to Niall Chandler. You've got Cyborg. He's a 19-year-old kid, part man, part cyborg, because of Niall's bloody Chandler. You have Rita Farr. She's the one with the head in the cage. She was a 1930s movie star. She then got turned into an amorphous blob that can control her shape just about. That was because of our bloody Chandler. The lady in the bottom right with the multiple heads, that's Crazy Jane. She has 67 personalities at the moment. Maybe, we're not sure. Each one of them's got its own superpower. Guess whose fault that is? And then the gentleman in the mask is Larry. He used to be a rocket ship pilot and a closeted gay man. He then got exposed to the negative force, which turned him radioactive and became a symbiotic life force for him. And if you can't guess whose fault all that was, you don't get the idea of the show.
So he was an Air Force pilot around World War II era, wasn't
around,
he?
60s.
60s era.
And this is all set in the current day, so they're all quite old.
That's right. And then the person who isn't in the picture is Niles Chandler.
I'll get onto that in a bit. Anyway.
And the lady in red?
Lady in red is Madame Rouge.
Madame Rouge is the focus of this season.
Kind of. It's like her and Rita Farr. But, look, another one of you. Hello, Moofa.
Good to see you, Moof.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi.
Okay, what you say? Yes. Larry Trainer, Air Force pilot.
Somebody rang. Ding dong. Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty cool. Rita Farr, as I said, the character got a lot more expansion in this season, which I really liked. They built up the character, gave her a lot more direction than had been done previously, which was really, really great. There was also a lovely part when Brendan Fraser, because the body of Robot Man is the physical body is one gentleman who I can't remember the name of. The voice is Brendan Fraser. Okay. And they had a wonderful scene where Brendan Fraser was playing pre-crash Cliff Steele, and he was talking to himself as post-crash Cliff Steele. Just both of them physically meeting and swearing at each other and going, "Hey, buddy, you're looking great." And it was just great TV. It was very emotional. It was also Brendan Fraser's got dad bod. He's got big. He's had various things. He's now large, but he was still able to rock it, which was very cool. And he was presenting himself as a competent, successful character. So that was nice to have a regular-bodied person on TV, or a slightly let themselves go body on TV doing that. And I said Michelle Gomez. She was Madame Rouge. That was just great. Michelle Gomez. She jumped in and rocked the role, which was really cool. It also meant we got quite a bit of pickup from the Doctor Who fandom, which is strange, but they turned up. So welcome to the party. That was cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the. Yeah, it was us large. This is from Moonfer. Us large boys just act more size. Yeah, it was. He pulled it off really well. He acted like a large boy would. That he wasn't ashamed. There was no shame. There was no denigration because of it. It wasn't like, I mean, the original Cliff Steele is a bit of a dick, but it wasn't. They weren't using him being big. Brendan Fraser being big to exemplify him being a bad person. It was just that's the shape he was. So that was cool. And has Laura got any comments?
Oh yeah, sure. Sorry. So yeah, the show is just consistently high quality, isn't it? You know, it just jumps so effortlessly between being super serious and comedy and random, and all the character development is there. It's, you know, everybody grows and then they do something stupid and then you put your head in your hands. But, you know, they do kind of pull together because there's a lot of animosity. Like everybody expects superhero buddies to get along, but they don't. You know, they've got a lot of anger. They've got a lot of problems, you know, but they do get along, but they have to work really hard to get through it.
It's just wonderful having a group who are together because they got shafted.
Yes,
and
exactly.
There's constantly this tension of we're absolutely not a superhero team, even though they are. I think that makes them more heroic in this season. The one thing I would say about this season is, and this is something that, other than just, you know, it's an excuse to talk about Doom Patrol. Of course, I'm going to talk about Doom Patrol. But the thing I wanted to bring up was, I think this season highlighted the difficulty entertainment has had and is still having during the ongoing pandemic. Not only did they have to, they had to effectively shorten this season as they needed to glue the end of season 2 onto it. Season 2 shut down. Season 2 was 9 episodes long because the pandemic shut down the shooting of the final couple of episodes. So they had to glue the end of season 2 onto this season. They had to redo the script. The season they had planned naturally got shrunk by about 9, about an episode and a half. But they also had to redo the scripts they had to comply with the restrictions that were on them when they were shooting. So they had everything ready to go, and then they're just like, right, here's the script, here's what we want to do. Does it pass health and safety? That we only just found out a couple of weeks ago what the health and safety would be. So that's monumentally difficult for people making this stuff at the moment. For example, Niles Chandler, the character, isn't in this season because Timothy Dalton, couldn't make it to the States. So
because of COVID, right?
Yeah, it's COVID restrictions and the COVID risks. The actor was available. The actor wanted to do it. His voice appears on a couple of occasions through the season because that's the work he could do. But it's as I said, it just highlights. This is just one show that highlights the difficulties people are having making entertainment at the moment, and the grace that they managed to flip the season and make it work. I think that's. If we're getting any new content at the moment that isn't 3 people in a field talking with the fan on, then there's an awful lot of work behind it.
With the masks on or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But so what's next, Andy? Do we know anything, like whether it's
I have no clue,
or Danny the Street or the Brick or the ambulance? I mean, there is a little ambulance. We've got
the current status is Danny is an ambulance.
You can see the ambulance on the road at the bottom of this image.
That's Danny the ambulance. He used to be Danny the Street. He then became Danny the Brick. He then became Danny the. Anyway, that's Danny. Danny's awesome. I have no idea because this season they brought in a large crux of the season was a group of characters called the Sisterhood of Dada. And the Sisterhood of Dada were an updating of one of the villains they faced last in the comics, who were called the Brotherhood of Dada. So they radically changed those characters. Just the whole premise of who they were, how they connected. They did them brilliantly. They were absolutely the characters from, more or less, they were absolutely the characters from the book. It was just on a completely different life path.
Yeah.
So, and they're also bringing in some of their own plot lines that they've built up from the previous seasons. So for me, as someone who knows the comics absolutely inside out, I have no idea what's coming next, and that's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's absolutely Doom Patrol, and I am absolutely sure there will be stuff that I will point out and go, "Oh, that's that from the book," but I won't know what will be coming next.
Yeah,
and that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. In a time where we've got remakes and everything popping out of every single media orifice, like it's just nice to have something so random because it's not following the comics at all. It's inspired by the comics really for its adaptation. So even if you have read every single page like Andy has, you still don't know what's happening. So, it's good. All right. So another episode, another recommendation for Doom Patrol. So yeah.
Yeah.
What else we got? What else
the
have we
Doom
been
Patrol
watching?
addict says keep on Doom Patrolling.
Keep on doing
in a shock to practically no one. What we got next? We got an armadillo.
Yeah. What the heck is this, you may say? So this animation, it's a short show. It recently dropped on Netflix. It's been described as a cartoonist who lives in Rome with his armadillo for a conscience, reflects on his life path and a would-be love as he and his friends travel outside the city. The description also used words like offbeat and irreverent. We do have actual mince pies so that you can take bites out of when one of us mispronounces the word.
Mispronunciation.
Yeah, and I said
you chomp it.
Oh, I have to chomp it, but
you got it wrong.
Okay, fine. So
where were we?
They described it as offbeat and irreverent, but they missed out amazing and gut punch. Oh my goodness! So we laughed and we cried. And we really loved it.
Just to clarify, it's called Tear Along the Dotted Line.
Tear Along the Dotted Line.
Yes.
So we didn't know what that was about.
No clue. Never heard of it before.
Always up for watching new animations. Like, we don't get enough of them, especially like something random from Europe, you know. But it was a roller coaster, it really was. It was a fast-paced collection of anecdotes and memoirs about the dotted line of life, basically. We all end up following some line, or we can't follow it, or for whatever reason, and you rip across the line, like, you know, when you tear off that direct debit slip. Yeah. You know, that kind of adulthood frustration, kind of when you have to start paying bills. So that's my English metaphor, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe we'd have cut along the dotted line. I don't know, but tear along the dotted line, I think, has a more rough and ready, and what's the word? Like, you know, often you tear it and it doesn't quite follow the line, that sort of thing. There's not a lot of analogies, I think, with this title. So we just put it on. It was something new. We were listening to it when we were doing some DIY. So that's very middle-aged of us.
Yeah.
But we had to stop it because, you know, we were laughing. So we weren't drilling holes in the right places. Yeah, so it was just fast. It was fast. And so many wild metaphors. And yeah, it's just great.
It was an absolute, and I say this in the most positive way, this was an absolute con job of a series, because it starts at a reasonable pace, and then it just gets faster and funnier, and it sucks you in, and it makes you think it's going to be this ride, and then it absolutely isn't. And I got really drawn in, possibly because I just felt myself relating to the Zero Calculator character. The whole thing is the main character is supposed to be the original artist of these comics, Zero Calculator, and
you got to take Zero Calcare.
Calcare.
Right, I'm going to copy the Wikipedia article about the artist.
Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, you Calculator. What did it translate to? Something to
zero.
Oh, zero lime scale.
Yeah. It was really sharp. It was really cynical. It was really, really witty. And then it started developing a through story, because it was basically about this guy just being miserable and middle-aged and cynical. And I'm I'm down with that.
It's that whole, you know, when you have your mid-20s quarter-life crisis and everything's going wrong and everything that you're told to do, like, just doesn't work out and things like that. Yeah, so it's having lived through all those late 20s, early 30s issue.
Calculator sounds like a doomed girl villain obsessed with complex math
Wrong
problems.
Name, wrong series.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just, as I said, it started out being a bunch of little slice of life skits about being old, you know, whatever age and cynical, and then it started developing a plot. And we kind of just went, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And then the plot ambushed us. I can't think of another way of putting it.
Yeah,
it was not what we had signed up for.
No spoilers. And it just starts happening. And like, oh, why are these guys traveling? Who are they staying with? Oh, and then that's it. No spoilers, but like, oh my God. Yeah, so because of these last mainly two, I'd say the last 2.5 episodes out of the 6 episodes, because they're a huge emotional curveball. Please prepare your heart and your mind. So, and the cartoonist, he's very popular. And I'm going to check after this whether his comic books have been translated. I know some of them have been. I'm not sure about his autobiographical stuff.
Oh, right.
So they should be, because they're very relatable. So the original Italian dub, it had apparently its charm for its audiences was because there was some very specific slang used. So the English dub focuses on accents, which I think brings a parallel comedy bit across.
Well, like the fact that his buddy was Welsh.
The fact that his buddy just came out with his Welsh accent, and that just floored us because it was ridiculous. But it works so well. And I know that there are going to be some bits that can't really come across well in the translation. But I think overall they did a really good job of it. So yeah, it's 6 episodes long. So it's about 3 hours, half an hour each. Give it a try. Just prepare yourself.
Be ready for intensity.
Oh, great. Hopefully seeing more.
Meanwhile, in the movies.
Yes.
Dune. Dune. It's Dune. Everybody knows Dune.
Everyone knows Dune. It's the one about the space cocaine being pooped out by giant worms at an intergalactic Burning Man. And we know it's really pretty because Dennis, of course it looks pretty, Villeneuve made it. I've been a huge fan of the books. Well, the first 3 anyway, since I was a teen, and Laura's in the room when we watched the 1984 version. I think that's about how engaged you were when I'm sitting there going,
and I'm like, doing other things, not really concentrating.
So I'm not going to bore the shit out of you about, what would be the minutiae of what got left out from the book Stop of a Door. No, what I want to do is I want to ask Laura what you as someone who's like not a huge fan of it, what did you think of the movie?
So I came out of the cinema and met up with everybody, and I went, finally, a version of Dune that I understand. They finally made it accessible to newcomers. And I'm sure that fact alone really riled some diehard Dune fans. Ha ha ha. But anyway, so the sets, they were superb. The outfits, they were beautiful. It was just great. But in a nutshell, so Andy, they were at war because everybody just wants some of that sweet, spicy cocaine dust, right? That was my assumption, that they were fighting, right?
That's pretty much it.
Right,
Denis Villeneuve didn't do a great job. The problem is the book pretty much just throws you in. It doesn't do one of the really great things about the books is that it doesn't do a huge amount of explaining. It tells you what's going on, but it lets you fill in an awful lot of details. Some people like it, some people don't, but it does mean that the book doesn't do a huge amount of explaining the details of why everyone's at war, other than we're at war.
And
there are explanatory lines, but it's normally within the context of you accepting they're at war and you going, right, well, why is rather than a real solid reason. There's a huge vendetta between the two main houses involved, but it's never really explained why. You don't need to know why. They're just trying to gank each other. And Denis Villeneuve does, he got that across pretty well.
Exactly. All you need is the gist. You don't need a blooming Star Wars Episode 1, everybody talking in the chambers about the ins and outs of the war logistics.
You don't need what the 1984 book gave you, which was a pamphlet to help explain the movie.
Fascinating stuff, that.
But I went and saw it with the thing is I saw it with a couple of diehard Dune fans, and we really enjoyed it. And I saw it with you and Tiger Chili, a friend of ours, who aren't really diehard Dune fans, and you enjoyed it as well. And I can't remember the last time I went to something like this, and both newcomers and old hands were as hype.
Yeah. I mean, and you've been waiting such a long time for it, right? You've been waiting so long for it because it had been just delayed. It was just so nice to see you and our other friend 20 Pence just enjoy it so much, and that as well, I think, from the outside looking in, it was pleasing. It was nice.
It was very pleasing.
It was nice to be part of that as well.
It was very successful. The only disappointing thing so far is that, okay, so number one, I went into this knowing there were going to be a bunch of edits because, as I said, books are doorstop. We then found out there's a whole bunch of scenes that got made which haven't made it to the cinematic release. Fine, this is the editing process. But we then found out that Denis Villeneuve has just gone, no, there will not be a director's cut. What you got at the cinema is what. So the fans are just sitting there going, you've got it, you can get it up to speed, you can release it to us, and we'll give you more of our money. Why aren't you doing it, you bastards?
Maybe he's just saving it for 20th anniversary release.
Maybe. God damn it, just give us those scenes.
So that's the second movie has been greenlit, because this is essentially part 1 of 2, right?
It is, yeah.
So, I'm happy about that.
It's back in the cinema.
What?
They've re-released. It's been re-released. It broke 100 million in America recently, and they're sending it back to the cinema for Christmas. So
fair enough. Nice.
It's a slow burner.
It's such a beautiful film as well. It should be absorbed on the big screen. So
yeah. It's one of the few times I'm like, wow, glad to see it in IMAX.
Well, now I know what's going on in Dune. I'd be quite happy to watch the 80s one again, because now I know what's going on. I just want to see Sting in his fighting pants again.
Yeah,
and with a bit more context. Makes sense.
it's curious. It's had a really polarizing effect on the 84 version, because before it was, I don't know how to put it. It's just brought that into sharp context. A lot of people on the scene are now championing the 84 version because of its retro appeal and because of its ridiculousness.
Interesting. So if anything, it's bridged the gaps and given it more life at the same time.
It's kind of made it a bit more popular, because because we've now got the three. Well, there's three versions of it. There's the original 84 film, there's the 2001 TV series, and now there's this. Because there's now so much more compare and contrast.
Yeah.
And I never had a massive problem with. I mean, there's some shortfallings on it, but the 84 version is fun to look at.
Mm-hmm. And
this one is fun to actually understand the plot and have some acting in it. So. Or comprehensible acting. It's unfair on the 84 version. The 84 version's got a lot of acting. In some cases, it's got far too much acting. But
so much acting.
Yeah. I'm still. All I can say is I'm very much looking forward to the next version, and I'm very much looking forward to when I'm 60, someone else having a crack at it and gaining it, and not making the book. It's just, it's going to be what it's going to be.
So if it's at the cinema again, go and see it. We thoroughly enjoyed it, whether you know it or not. Don't be put off by weird Children of Dune TV or 80s Sting pants Dune. Like, you can just go and enjoy it from scratch.
Speaking of children, Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Woo!
This is where we get contentious.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. But by contentious, you just mean different viewpoints.
Christmas Dune, stuff your stocking with spicy cocaine. Always spicy cocaine. Anyway, carry on with the Ghostbusters.
So Ghostbusters has always been a big part of my life. Like, the original film, it was creepy enough for young me to be spooked by it, but also intrigued by it. So, it was the first kind of grown-up film that was cartoonish enough that I had enough interest in to watch. And that was swiftly followed up by the real Ghostbusters TV animation. And that was one of my early special interest animations. And then after that was Garfield, because Lorenzo Music was both the voice actor for Garfield as well as Peter Venkman. But that's another chapter.
Ghostbusters always leads to Garfield.
Well, it does, because Bill Murray voices Garfield now, which I think is amazing. But that was a weird parody. I think Rick and Morty did something about it, and that blew my mind. But anyway, as usual, Ghostbusters, it was considered a boys' film. It was considered a boys' cartoon. So not many of my friends who were girls at school didn't like it as much as I did. It was very much something I enjoyed at home, with my brother. We had lots of toys and the comics, and what I also love was Janine Melnitz did not give one, she put everybody in her place and sorted everybody out. Like, even in the cartoon, she was an honorary Ghostbuster in some of the later episodes in the later seasons. And I think also an idea of a group of like bumbling around adults, like not being held up to much in other people's viewpoints. Still being able to do a good job and follow through with what they believe in. Like, that's reassuring to me. It was reassuring to me, like, as an anxious kiddie. And even though I wasn't very science obsessed, it was just science fiction-y enough to hold my attention, I think. But then you had Ghostbusters 2, and that was really, really boring. And nobody remembers anything about it. Yeah, but nobody talks about it, though. Like, and Harold Ramis wasn't even in it, right?
He was.
Like, somebody wasn't in it, or somebody didn't have much to do with it, or somebody really didn't want to and they were forced. Was
Bill Murray.
Like,
Bill Murray didn't want to be into it, which is why he wasn't wearing a suit. It was basically Dan Aykroyd really wanted to do it.
Yeah, but it didn't go down too well. But yeah. So, and then ages later we had Answer the Call, which was released a few years ago. And it's one of my favorite films. Again, for my love of female characters, and like it was the film I wanted to see as a little girl, Ghostbuster, really. But that got trashed mainly because of sexism. It wasn't quite the same comedy, even though there was Saturday Night Live comedians. There was a lot of problems with online hate with that film, which I feel is dreadfully unfair. So I actually had a lot of trepidation when I saw the trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife. I really did. But it was clearly marketed as, clearly, transparently, it was a focused, intentional nostalgia trip. So I was like, right, come on, let's go and see it then. But when we got in there...
Are you going to give them the skinny?
And it hit all my buttons. So you've got little nerdy Phoebe on the left with the proton pack. You've got the ever-exasperated mum behind, and you've got the little boy with the binoculars on his head, and he's called himself Podcast because he does podcasts, and like he just wants content, and he liaises with Phoebe, who is very awkward and isn't very good at social skills. She's more into
clearly
science,
supposed to be neurodivergent.
Both of them. I clearly put Phoebe down with autism, and I clearly put Podcast down as ADHD. Like he's possibly, just so energetic, but hyper focused on his thing. On the left we've got it's Finn Wolfhard is his real name from Stranger Things.
Which is an amazing name.
Amazing name.
Here he is playing Trevor Spangler.
Spangler. Take that bite.
Sorry.
Spangler. Take that bite of mince pie, Auntie. So what we should mention is that the mom and Phoebe and Trevor, they are all related to Egon Spangler. Behind Trevor is a lady, I've forgotten her name, but she works at the fast food joint. But again, it's just being awkward but believing in these random things that nobody else does. At the forefront, he's not actually the main character. They put him at the forefront of this poster because he is Paul Rudd. It's actually Phoebe and the mom and the brother that are the main characters in this film, but they put Paul Rudd in it to get bums on seats, clearly. So
do you want me to read the intro, or are you just absolutely determined not to read the intro?
I've just have I missed it entirely?
Yes.
Oh, there, very good. Well, I've done it. It's fine. Who needs show notes when you're excited about Ghostbusters?
That's cool.
But their poor mom, like, she's ever exasperated and frazzed, and they've got no money, and they end up going into this spooky old house, and that just opens portals, basically. They live in the middle of nowhere. So I loved it. So Andrew, why are you so about it?
Why am I so about it?
Yeah.
Okay. So to give some context, the new film focuses on the family of the now dead Egon Spengler.
Mince pie now.
Due to the sad passing of Harold Ramis. Features the antics of teen geek science kid Phoebe Spangler and awkward elder brother Trevor Spangler, supported by their exasperated
eat that mince pie.
mum. I did.
Phoebe Spangler.
They're trying to adjust to a living in the middle of nowhere with nuclear powered death rays, as they've inherited land to keep them all busy. The problem I had was that I could see all the tricks it was trying to pull. I could see exactly all the heartstrings it was trying to hit, and I could see all the member berries it was trying to set off with me. Its level of reverence for the original Ghostbusters, which it was a direct sequel to, they completely skipped part 2, was so astronomically high. The story never got to be its own thing. It was, and it's the only film in the series that doesn't work by itself. So you can watch Ghostbusters 2, whilst I'm not going to say whether or not Ghostbusters 2 was great, operates as its own film. Ghostbusters Answer the Call operates as its own films. You can watch them without having to really know what happened in Ghostbusters. When it helps, it makes better. There's obviously context between them, but you can just go into them as is. On this one, you need the context of Ghostbusters 1 for it to mean anything, for it to actually hit you with anything, and for it to vibe with you. So it was trying to elicit a reaction to Ghostbusters 1 and trade on Ghostbusters 1 all the way through. not being its own thing. For all the failings of Answer the Call, of which there were many, but I overall loved the movie. Answer the Call was making its own way. It was doing its own thing. There were a lot of callbacks to the originals, but there were also a lot of new things. This was constantly harking back to the original, and that just whatever, it never got to be its own thing, and it frustrated me massively because you had two excellent young characters that never got out of the shadow of the previous movie. Even the ending had a Deus Ex ending that was just, aren't the Ghostbusters great? And it's like, yeah, they were great. This isn't their sodding film. I wanted it. So it just.
It was a nice love letter, though.
It was an absolute love letter.
But what else could it have been? I mean, you can't.
It could have been its own thing.
No, I don't think you can trounce Ghostbusters, though. Honestly,
it doesn't need to trounce Ghostbusters.
But if it tried to be its own thing, wouldn't it just get like online hatred, like Answer the Call did?
Well, probably not, because it's not female centric. So yeah, you wouldn't have as many haters going on there. I think with the characters they had and the setup they had, they could have relatively stuck to the same plot. They could still have had references to the old plot. It's difficult to discuss this too much because I want to avoid spoilers. But they could still have had most of the same setup. But
I don't think you could fit it in the same film.
Characters have done the stuff. Let them be the riding force.
I don't think you wouldn't have been able to fit that into a film because you needed the Paul Rudd character to show everybody about, hey, these guys saved New York in 1984. Yeah, no, you couldn't have done it without it, though. That's the thing. But,
no, I'm saying you. Obviously, it harks back to the original movie. But I'm just saying, even with the setup, they could have just had more of it being... And they at the midpoint, they started going in their own direction. Started having the new characters doing the stuff. It was just then when it got to the final act and then the actual what was going on, it was all relating to the previous movies. It was almost like it was just to remember, Barry. It didn't give me any... It didn't give me any new feelings. It didn't give me any new moments to hold that were in and of themselves awesome. It just kept on going, hey, you remember when this other film did something cool? Hey, you remember when that time that other movie made you feel X? And I'm like, yes, but I'm not watching that movie. What do you want me to do? Take this movie out and put the better movie on?
But do you want? I don't think it was better. That's
what you're signaling me to do.
No, I don't think it was better.
No, I'm saying that was how it made me feel. Like it was constantly going. Do you remember this other better movie? I'm like, no, make this movie better.
Well, okay. Well, did you enjoy seeing it on the big screen?
Was it worth it? It was all right. I can't go any further, and I'm absolutely trying not to bag on it because I know so many people who've absolutely loved it, and I'm not going to take that away from them. I just didn't hit.
Well, fair enough. So it's a bit of a Marmite one then from Super Fortress. So try it. You might like it, you might not. But how about Paul Rudd? You were talking points about Paul Rudd.
He does a solid job of being Paul Rudd. I can't help it. It's Paul Rudd is in movies because he plays Paul Rudd. And that's what he does all the way through this is he plays Paul Rudd. And he has a thing that he does, and that's what he does.
He's so inoffensive, isn't he?
Yeah.
So fair enough. That's our summary for Ghostbusters, isn't it? So yeah.
The kids were brilliant. I wish they'd had more impact on the plot.
They were great.
Yeah. Especially in the resolution. But anyway, that's I'm a bitter.
You bitter old man.
From Moonfer, Paul Rudd is like Ryan Reynolds.
That's two bites. Moofner, not Moonfer.
Moonfer. Paul Rudd is like Ryan Reynolds. They both have played the same character for the last 4 years in different movies. Yes,
that's true.
Oh, you want absolute proof of that? Red Notice.
Oh,
we watched that. That was a non-entity.
Yeah, we're not even talking about Red Notice because we cannot recommend it.
Gal Gadot, The Rock, and Ryan Reynolds. Being Gal Gadot, The Rock, and Ryan Reynolds for 2 hours. It could have been.
It was mad. Absolutely. It was mad bad. Not mad in a good way either. No.
It was just dumb.
Do you have an intro segment for the next section, Andy?
I do.
Go on then.
Yeah, I'm talking of mad and bad. Trash or treasure.
Dum, dum, dum.
This is a shameless plug for the Thursday night gets together. It gets together and it puts the lotion on the basket. You can find out about them at facebook.com/groups/hardcore Genki. The actual chat we do, that's bit.ly/superfortress discord. So this is a shameless plug. Well, it's not just a shameless plug. It's more than a shameless plug.
Well, this is the Super Fortress Hardcore Genki, so we can talk about Super Fortress things.
Thursday night get-togethers. It's and for my amazing blog Trash or Treasure, which is at trashortreasure.blog. These have been run every week since lockdown started. So since February 2021. Oh my God, it's coming on for 2 years.
Yep.
Various forms and in various platforms, and they're still going. So this is just me talking about them and riffing.
Yeah, absolutely.
The whole thing started because the Trash or Treasure posts that I was doing, and the Netflix Watch Parties app came into existence. My theory was that if I'm watching these movies anyway to do these reviews, I might as well invite others to join in, do the same for a bit of company, help drum up some more readership, get some other people's views on stuff, because obviously I suffer from crippling imposter syndrome, so I needed to have assurances that my opinions on these things were even slightly valid. And, drum up some more readership because you try and get interaction to get people involved. What I didn't expect, and this is the thing I'm more interested in, was it growing to something that people really look forward to as a social meeting. Like, we've now got a regular crew of people actively coming along, and if I don't do a post saying it's coming, they're going, "Hey, what's the next movie? What's the next movie?" Rather than each week me having to bang the drum and drag people out. Part of this probably because we didn't, when I started it, we didn't know lockdown was going to be forever.
It's true.
And I'm also just surprised because I never thought people would have the same resilience to bad movies as I do.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, didn't they make an entire TV series like Mystery Science Theater and MST 2000?
They have made stuff like that, but those are always looking at, that's trying to find the big difference I'd say between that and what we do is they're finding bad movies and trying to say this is a bad movie, this is why it's bad. Trash or Treasure is taking, like, I always look for stuff that's mid-rated, like 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 2.5 out of 5, and bung that one.
Yeah, I think the
two.
That's true.
I don't know.
The riffing does help. I mean, to be honest, like the top two, we've come across some proper treasure, even though they were full-on trash. But we have really, really endured some terrible.
But it's the fact that people keep
fires
coming back for the good stuff. People are happier when we find a treasure.
Yeah.
People are happier when we find something that's not technically a great movie, but is still absolutely worth watching.
Yeah, that doesn't feel as much of an endurance as perhaps we had thought it was.
It's the willingness in this day or age, where all these people.
There's so much media, isn't there? Right?
There's so much media, and it's so much easier to find good media. You can just go on Amazon, you can just go on Netflix, and they will just go, here's a movie, here's what all your peers have said, and you can find something you will like.
Yeah.
And time is precious, even when we're all locked at home. So having people go, I'll take an absolute blinder on what could be hot garbage. That's really cool to have happen.
And it is nice having people watch the same film as you, like ping in the silly comments. Like I view it as a really good thing, and I think I prefer the Discord and the live chat online to having everybody over and talking all over the film. Like for me, like it is funny, but it for me personally, as an individual who gets like overloaded with things like that, it would just become annoying and frustrated, and I wouldn't enjoy it in the same way. Like, for example, I mean, I mentioned Mystery Science Theatre, but I just can't actually watch it because I find it too annoying. Like, when it's on text, you can choose to read it as you go along, or just put it down for a bit, enjoy it, and then when a crap bit comes up, you can pick it up and go, someone thought of something it's your choice.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone's talking about it over and over and over, it's intrusive, I think. So that's a really good
people
positive
trying
point
to get their joke to land again and again.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. And it's like, pacing.
The beauty of Discord is you can consume it at your own pace or ignore it at your leisure.
Exactly.
I would say ignore it at your leisure is a very key line here from Mufna, because if you are liking a film that everyone else is bagging on, you can just ignore the Discord. And there have been multiple times where I've been absolutely enwrapped by a scene and people have been slamming into it, and I've just not been. So I don't miss out on enjoying that film.
Exactly.
I don't, especially with this kind of movie. I don't feel bad.
No,
not that our crowd is like that, but I don't feel bad for liking that scene. I get to finish the scene and feel smug that everyone else is wrong, and that I get to write the reviews, so they're going to be completely ignored.
Maybe it stems from back in the day when maybe we didn't know as many people who were into the same things as we were passionately into. If you try and show someone something that you really loved, something, and they were just like meh over it or suddenly slammed it, it's so painful. So I think having that choice with the Discord chat maybe ties into that experience that many of us have had.
One thing that has actually surprised me is how tolerant people are, and it's obviously it's a self-selecting audience, but the tolerance that the people involved. We got like I'd say about 10 or 15 people cycling through, which is it's a pretty reasonable amount. It's how much tolerance they got for what normally be called bad films, as long as the film tries to do something fundamentally entertaining. Acting is minimal consideration. Effects are secondary. Something being a treasure pretty much comes down to a steady stream of stuff happening and characters to care about. It is, do we care? Is something happening on screen and do we care? That is what makes people think if something is trash or treasure. It's some of the stuff we watched has been incredibly technically good, but really slow. So people are just like, yeah, this is pure trash. Whereas something like Night of the Scarecrow, which really is badly made, we loved it because
it had a lot to talk about.
It had a lot. It said it had a lot to talk about. It said it very awkwardly. It said it very cheaply.
It tried its best.
That's it. It's tried, and that to me, I found that. I am finding that. Plus, just it's just nice. This thing that people regularly turn up to consume it. It's good for my ego, but it's also just nice to have that thing. So, thanks to everyone who comes along. We're going to carry on doing it.
It's made our lockdown and our semi-isolation in this household that we've had to do very, very tolerable and helpful and supportive. So thank you everyone that joins in, and you can join in too. It's every Thursday. If you join in, follow our Discord that Andy posted. He can post it if you pop the thing up again.
Give me a second.
It's is it bit.ly.com? bit.ly Super Fortress Discord, and it basically allows you to enter the app because it's a ever open invite, and it's basically just a chat app.
So give us 2 seconds. What have we got this month? Might as well. Oh, come on, where's the events page? What delights do we have? We have. So this Thursday we've got Cat Women of the Moon. That'll be on the 2nd. On the 9th we've got Theatre of Blood. On the 16th we've got Black Christmas. And then on the 23rd we've got Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny. And Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny is an absolute... This is a classic. This is an old tradition that they used to have in the States where...
Mufna can pull us up on this if we are incorrect.
No, this is during the 60s and 70s, very regionalized TV. So local shonky amusement parks would make movies that are adverts for all the rides that are at their shonky amusement park.
Amazing.
And then put it on air and air it on the telly. So it's basically a very cheaply produced 90-minute long advert for an amusement park that's long gone.
Amazing.
It's going to be a proper shonk fest.
I'm excited. I love that.
Yeah.
A practice that has thankfully died.
You say that, but yeah, no, that's completely legit.
No, it's
anyway.
Great. Won't be as good as that water park documentary that we watched.
Yeah, which you can find on previous ones.
Yeah, we already covered Traction Park. I really love that. But yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Meanwhile, on the road.
Yes.
That was filmed this morning.
We miss conventions.
We really do. We've missed 2 main events a few times that we go to as punters, and like about 16 events that we go to as sellers. Yes, it was nice to have a break. Absolutely. These events are massive. They're exhausting, but we really miss them, actually. Oh, American. I don't think there was as much traction, or police cars that they'd. I'm always here to watch like a documentary about a theme park.
Visions of
ruins
Pleasurewood
people.
Hills doing a Christmas special. Anyway, you were saying, yeah.
Yeah. So we're missing MCM London. We're missing all the events that we used to do. Thought Bubble. Those are the main 2, but there was
the one we always did in Burton. There was not Birmingham. No, we've done Birmingham MCM. We did Nottingham Comics.
Nottingham Comic Con. For me, the Will Adams Festival, where I go and draw the caricatures.
Yeah, there's local fair, little alternative arts fairs. We missed those. We've done no trading at all.
No, it's not the same as doing it online. It's just not the same doing an online event. I don't have the time or the energy to market. It takes so much. You just throw stuff into the ether and not a lot sticks. And some people are so good at it, but it really exhausts me and wears me out. But even though these events, they're so big and they're so busy, I just miss people. Like I'd see people and I'd be energized by seeing their faces and their energy and things that they were making,
for me, definitely with needlessly aggressive products, because my stuff is so focused at throwing shit at people, not having people nearby that I can, verbally or visually abuse, that takes some of it away. But it's also just missing the context of events. For the stuff I make, for the comedic value, that is definitely massacred me. But it's also I'm absolutely, if I'm at a market, if I'm at a stall, I will stand there and I will be bullshit as all hell. But I don't want to put an advert on Facebook.
It's not the same. It's not the same at all.
Yeah, and
no.
the energy involved trying to hype up an online event is so different, and it feels a lot more invasive.
People aren't used to it either. You kind of have to still teach people how to online convention, much like when you do a new local convention and the new attendees, like they look at you like you're a zoo exhibit. Like you have to teach people this is what a convention is, and yes, you can spend some money. Like we made these.
The number of times we've been to first time events and people come in and they're just like, what is this place?
Yeah.
Who are you? What have we do? It's like
that was another type of tiresome, actually. Yeah. Like comic conventions have been happening in the UK since the 70s. What is going on with this?
Not everyone.
You go to Marvel.
Since the 70s.
Well, the amount of people that go to see Marvel films and they don't really realize that like comic books still exist. It's odd, but
it's odd.
For me, it's going to take a long time for me to feel safe. When you've got a chronic condition, it's really highlighted that when other people decide to be selfish, they really blummin' go for it.
I think we are entering on the safety front, because obviously the reason we haven't been has been safety. we're now entering a difficult phase, a very difficult phase, where the wish to go to events could easily outstrip the ability to run safe events. It's a very difficult balance to be made, not least because unnecessary precautions lead to, I want to call it safety theatre fatigue. It's like if you are being overly cautious, people will work it out. They will get exhausted by it, and the lack of you got that, but you've also got a lack of necessary precautions can lead to literal death. So there's a very difficult line. I know that MCM, LFCC, there are a number of events running shows and doing shows that are being safe. There's not been a massive spike from MCM. I thought there would be. I was wrong.
Yeah, everyone that's done a lap flow test has come out shiny and good. Yeah. So, they
are putting in precautions.
Yeah.
But how long will those precautions be able to stay at the levels they are? How long will people be willing to put up with that? And how long before smaller events start kicking things off? Because apart from anything, there is an actual demand. I mean, I honestly, I never realized how much I took for granted the energy of the events.
Yeah.
There was, and there was something wonderful about that many geeks and nerds in one place just going, oh, wow, we love this. Whatever it is, even if it's just being at the convention.
I think it's also because
it kind of became I took it for granted and it became a background noise. So I know I go to events and I can be incredibly cynical because I'm a bitter husk of a man. But I think even that shtick to me, having not been able to do it for 2 years, that's going to change. I hope.
Yeah. It's
I can't take it for granted any longer.
Again, because in the past we've had people like not really get what we're very much into. So to be in a place where all those people are also into what we are into, like to a level more than the average person, even though the internet has helped us connect and different types of jobs have become available. Like we met at a job that was pretty geeky years and years and years ago, but because we grew up when those opportunities weren't around, I don't think we take it for granted that it's easier to find people who are into sharing the love of these things. But I think, again, taking it away does make us realize, like, yeah, actually, I really miss these people. I speak to so many of them almost every day on social media, at least every week, every month. I miss them. I miss seeing them,
the best way I can put it is, previously, I used to be at conventions being annoyed that people weren't into exactly the same stuff I am, right? Now, I'm just going to be excited to be in a room full of people who are into stuff. just being around people who are into stuff is going to be pretty cool, which is probably, unless you've got anything else to say on missing conventions.
I don't think so. But what are you plotting, Andy? What are you
this
plotting?
Is probably why I'm plotting a convention.
Watch out, world.
This is another brazenly shameless plug. I managed to end up secretary for the big Huntingdon Geek Out, which will be running at the Commemoration Hall in Huntingdon, Sunday, 7th of August, 2022, aiming to be a day of geek interest, fun, presentations. We're going to have presentations, panels, workshops. It's going to be a 3-minute presentation challenge. There's going to be exhibits. There's also going to be another draw-a-thon, which is a drawing challenge.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That I keep on making up as I go along. And yeah, so when I say it's difficult to work out, people are having trouble with COVID at conventions. Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, I'm planning an event. This is from first-hand experience. I'm planning an event that's going to be happening in August, and I don't know if we're going to be able to run it in August. I'm putting time and effort in on the assumption that we're not.
All you can do is
lockdown.
Book things and just hope for the best the day before. That's how we've had to learn how to roll in the past few years now, past 2 years.
It's organizing an event where I've got to factor in what happened, what do we do with the cash if the whole thing if the day before they just go, right, the UK's on lockdown. Trying to find out where I can find the necessary precautions, and where I can get the updates to the necessary precautions, and trying to make predictions because we don't want to like overpack anything. It's difficult. I mean, it's awesome, but even for me, just doing a small local thing, it's a nightmare. And this is even before I have to turn around to people and try and convince a couple hundred people to turn up to a single place and go, yeah, by the way, you're not going to catch the plague, it'll be fine. We're really plague aware.
But it depends on people joining in on that, like people still wearing masks, still maintaining distance, not touching everything, washing their hands, using all that basic hygiene stuff.
Yeah, but it's finding out what can we do if someone is unwilling to wear a mask. What do it's the level of complication is insane. But the event this is not me moaning. This is just me going, okay, this is intense. And also, by the way, I'm doing an event. Come along, it will be awesome. Because I'm missing conventions that much. I'm running one of the bastards.
But we're gonna start small. We'll it's like a 1-day event. We'll just take it easy, baby steps, get back into doing.
I'm not expecting to be larger than NTM till at least next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope to do so.
I dodged the bullet for 18 months. Oh God.
Oh no! Oh, what a shame, Toby.
Sorry about that.
Well, stay safe. Stay well. That's all you can do. Is just try your best, hope for the best, and look after yourself. It's no one's fault. It just happens. It's
you can put in all the precautions you want. It'll still just go horribly wrong. But anyway,
absolutely.
Check out Huntingdon Geek Out Social Club. That's got all the information. Book the date. Find out where Huntingdon is.
Yeah.
COVID is the new Whamhalla. You will eventually be sent there. Yes.
It's not if, it's when. Absolutely that. What a shame. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. We'll keep on trucking, though.
We're going to keep on trucking because that's what we do. And we can't stay in the Super Fortress forever, even though we'd love to.
No, but I think that's us. Yeah. Are we done?
I can't think of anything else to plug. Do you have anything to plug?
Not at the moment. My Patreon was kind of quiet this year. I think I burnt myself out I did an 80-page comic during the first year of the pandemic last year. And this year, I'm just shattered. So there's been a lot of stuff going on. So I took it easy this year. But Christmas, I've booked a lot of time off work over Christmas. And Christmas is basically the summer holiday for adults. So I'll probably get the majority of my comic stuff set
off at the same time.
I know. So I'll probably get a lot of stuff. We've rebooted this Twitch channel, so I'll jump on to Twitch and for a little bit. I'm
going to be doing stuff on my Twitch channel at some point. And I got an idea that I think people will be bothered with.
Yeah. Like as long as it's not too intrusive for us, if we've got a lot of stuff going on, like I've got family members in hospital soon just for procedures though, so that's going to take up my focus. But if stuff doesn't hit the fan, then that's when I can do it. But of course it's completely unpredictable, isn't it? Whether you can or can't do these things. So that's the thing. We just got to look after ourselves, look after each other, stay excellent, be excellent, stay excellent. So the next, sorry, Andy, you were saying.
No, you're hitting the script. It's fine.
No worries. So we were thinking about the next show. Let's see whether we can do it. So this is the end of November, and then the next December deadline would be on the 25th of December.
So, no, not doing that.
Happening.
I'm not doing a turkey and then jumping online for all this. It may surprise people, but there's a lot of prep that goes into these.
Streamy Christmas dinner.
God, someone will be. I'm not doing that mukbang.
Oh, no thanks. So we're going to aim at January the 29th, but if we can squeeze one in over the Christmas holidays, then we will. But again, it's just going to be ad hoc when you feel like it.
Tell everyone about us. Tell everyone to come.
So yeah, hope you've had a good time.
Hit us up on YouTube where it's going to be posting. Hit us up on here when it's going to be. Join us at the Super Fortress where we let everyone know what to do and share an awful lot of silly stuff. Right, Laura, where can people find you?
Main website, PinkApplJam.com. On Twitter and Facebook, I am PinkAppleJam Art. On Twitch, PinkAppleJam, and Patreon, PinkAppleJam. So that's my name again. It's PinkApplJam.
You
So,
can find...
Etsy as well. Yes, well remembered, Andy. Well done.
I'm
Andy
on
stuff.
Etsy. Go to Etsy, look for Needlessly Aggressive. You'll find my shonk. Go to Raggedyman. You'll hear me screaming into the wind on Twitter.
Yep.
And a little co-announcer thing is at Hardcore Genki, which is awesome.
Indeed, that's our Twitter account, isn't it? Yep.
Yes.
So jump onto Twitter and find our witterings there. But thank you so much for joining in. Stay safe.
Yes.
Facebook. Oh, before we forget, of course, Facebook, Hardcore Genki. That's often where we'll share stupid memes and stuff as well to do with the films and TV that we've been watching.
Book you for events and go, come and watch us do a thing. We demand your attention.
It's a nice little, just group, just gang. Yeah. So stay safe, stay well, take care, and be excellent to each other, everybody. All the best. Stay well. Bye.